Jared, can you guys hear me all right?
I've got you, Monty.
Okay. All right. So we thought we'd do that this week and just go through plays, kind of like what I've done in the other training tapes, but to be able to allow you guys to ask questions at any time. So at any time you have a question during the play, it can be in the middle of the play, whatever, I don't care. Just unmute yourself, ask your question, and then we'll address it. So, I mean, this is something we want it to be, a learning tool, just like the training tapes hopefully have been. And, we're really hoping for questions and discussion. This is one that I don't want to be the one doing all the talking. Go through the plays, answer questions and so on, but really want you guys to ask questions of anything that you have. And don't think that any question's a dumb question, because we've got a variety of experience of officials on here, from officials who, maybe currently just work middle school or lower level games, to officials who have worked for, 30, 40 years of high school, maybe college as well. So but we're going to go ahead and get started. So this was an interesting play. Initially I saw it on the news, Channel 4 News Sports, and then had it an email or a text sent to me by one of the officials that was involved, and he sent me the play. So so anyway, we've got a helmet that comes off the runner, and I think a lot of us probably know that when the helmet comes off of the runner, the ball's dead at that spot. So part of the question was, there's a rule that involves illegal participation, which is 964 G, and that rule states for illegal participation for continuing to participate beyond the immediate action in which the player is engaged. And that official was like, should we have called that too? Because they did not. And my comment was, that's not really the intent of this rule. It's more chasing after a runner if you're a defender, or if you're an offensive player, continuing to block when your helmet comes off. In this case, I'll run the play and you can see what happens here. Never really seen a play like this before. But so we've got interception. Oops, sorry about that. Interception, and his helmet gets knocked to the side, and he's trying to put it on because he can't see. And eventually he just decides, well, I mean, he's running the right way. He knew that, but he couldn't figure out what to do. So he ended up taking it off. And you can see the officials are a little bit delayed in what to do, which I think, that's going to surprise everybody. But you can see they did a nice job here of, okay, ball's going to be dead. The official is, going to the spot where he felt the player took his helmet off. And, they did not, they got together, talked about it, and they just gave them the ball at that spot, but did not have any foul for illegal participation. So that one's kind of straightforward, but very unique. If we don't have any questions, we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so the rule and mechanics on how to properly get the foul for an ineligible player downfield. And Jared, remind me if I forget to come back and talk about the RPO aspects here. So first of all, you can see we're snapping the ball at it looks like the 27-yard line, maybe right in there. Yeah, 27, I think. So we got to know the rule, right, of how far a lineman can go downfield. And the rule is 3 yards. But we also got to understand when that 3 yards comes into play. So if you read the rule on illegal, an eligible player downfield, they get up to 3 yards, and that's before the ball is thrown. So the instant that ball is released is when we need to know where the player is. And if I go back here to my talking point here, Oh, nope, I don't have it down there. I've got it on the next part. It's a healthy 3 yards. Okay. This is not one we want to nitpick. Now, if they're running RPO, and if you don't know what RPO stands for, it's run pass option. So RPOs, we're going to be a little tighter on that 3 yards. And we want to make sure that we call that a little closer, because when they're running RPOs, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the linebackers especially to kind of suck up to the line of scrimmage, reading run, and then the quarterback actually reads if they really run an RPO well, the quarterback is reading what the linebacker is doing, where he's moving relative to usually the receiver in the slot, and how that defender reacts depends on either if he's going to throw it at all, if he's going to hand it off, he's going to throw it, or who he's going to throw it to. So the reason we call it tighter, IDP tighter with the RPO, is because the defense is put it at a disadvantage if then you pull that ball and you make a pass because they felt it was going to be a run. So if you're selling that run, and then you pull it and you pass it, we're just tighter on where those linemen are. But on a regular pass play, we want it to be a healthy 3. We want every part of their body beyond 3 yards, really a good 4. If it's RPO, what we're instructed in college, and it really feeds down the same thing in this case to high school, is if they're running a true RPO, if that lineman is at 3 yards, it's a foul. Okay. So let's take a look at the play here. And we got it easy here because we've got a big line that is our 3 yards. If we're snapping the 27, the 30 is our 3 yards. Okay, so right now, the ball's just leaving the quarterback's hand. And to have an eligible receiver downfield, again, we need to be past that healthy 3 yards. I would not consider this a true RPO. So we would want this guy to be, between 3 and 4, if not at 4 yards. And remember, we snapped the ball at the 27. So our line here is the 30. And you can see that's our 30 right there. You can see we've got no lineman even close. Okay. So I think we just, if I continue with the play here, you can see our umpire now turns around. He sees big 72 here. Looks back. There's the ball. Looks back again. And then his flag comes out. So I really think we just did not, have a full understanding of what makes an ineligible player downfield. And what you need to know is 2 things: 3 yards, and that's the instant the ball leaves the hand of the passer. So those are the factors you need to consider. Again, you're going to call it a little tighter when they're running a run pass option. If it's a regular passing play, then we really want to make that a very, very healthy 3 yards, and we probably give them up to 4. Now, mechanically, in high school with the 5-man crew, the umpire is primary on this. So what you'll see a lot of umpires will do is they'll go ahead and when they read when they read pass, they'll step up right to where 3 yards is. And now he knows that if anybody is completely past him when that ball leaves the passer's hand, then he should consider, an ineligible player downfield. So that's mechanically how we're going to do it. The line of scrimmage officials are kind of secondary on ineligible player downfield, and the umpire is primary. So, it's one of those that if the umpire doesn't notice it, you don't see a flag by the umpire and your line of scrimmage guy, and you are 100% sure that this guy is definitely past 3. When the ball is released, then you got it. Now, I'm just going to tell you flat out, this is the most missed call in college football. All right. We get this incorrect more often than we have any other foul incorrect. So the reason is these guys move so fast that we think that they're at 3 or past 3 when that ball's released, but really they were at at 1 or 2, but they're drive blocking, or they might be running downfield because they know that pass is gone. And when that ball was released, they were not past 3. We think they were. We saw it late maybe, and we end up with an incorrect call. So at the college level, if it's our worst call, it's probably not going to be any easier when you only have 5 officials. So questions on IDP or the mechanics behind it?
Hey, Monty,
Yes.
I think that in high school, the backside wing on that play could be utilized way more. So for my crew, I'd like to see the backside wing actually have the best look at that play.
Yeah, definitely the backside wing has a great look. And one reason why is, he can probably, especially if it's a quick pass, he's probably holding that line of scrimmage. The umpire coming up to 3 yards can help a lot. Also, umpires got to be a little bit careful where those linebackers are, not running into them or setting a pick, something like that. But yeah, that's a good point, Mark. The backside wing can help out a lot.
I got another question, Monty.
Yes.
If a lineman goes downfield about 5 yards and then retreats back, is he still considered downfield?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you brought that up because I should have mentioned it, did not. Once they're past, they can't retreat and be legal. It's a foul, but remember, it's still not a foul until that pass crosses the line of scrimmage. And that's an important part that I forgot to mention. The pass has to cross the line of scrimmage, because obviously if you think about a screen pass, we've got linemen downfield all day long, right? But the key to that is that pass is first touched behind the line of scrimmage, which then we don't have a foul. So, the window kind of opens when the quarterback releases the ball, but to have IDP, we need to have that ball cross the line of scrimmage before it's first touched. So good point. They can't be down 4 or 5 yards, realize, oh crap, come back to 2 and have it not be a foul. It's going to be a foul. It's kind of like, so IDP is one thing. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, I think. It's called a hanging foul. So when we see a player who's ineligible, who's downfield more than 3 yards, in our mind, we're thinking I've got IDP hanging, but I don't throw my flag yet because it's not a foul unless that ball is thrown and first touched beyond the line of scrimmage. So then we put our flag down. So good questions. Thank you. Anything else on that one?
Monty, I'll just chime in again. Federation rule talks about it being 2 yards, not 3. While we're talking 3 is, there's no doubt about it. We've got somebody downfield. Make sure we're calling that correctly when we get there. Of, if in doubt, where we're at with everything. Because if we're close, again, as you mentioned, we're missing this with 7 or 8 individuals on the field at the NCAA level. We are going to, this is a tough call in a 5-man crew at the high school level.
Okay, so I'm just seeing, do I have 3 yards in my notes? Yeah, I should change that to 2 then. So 2 yards. That's correct, right, Jared?
It is.
And we want every part of his body beyond that 2 yards then. So these are big boys. So if their back foot is trailing and it's at 2 yards, we don't want to nitpick. That's one big thing. We do not want to nitpick these fouls, especially for IDP. You're going to call it tighter if it's a RPO, but you're still not going to nitpick it. So make it be there. Okay, next play. So we're going to go through the 11 plays that I have, 2 or 3 of which might be holding type plays. And then if we have time, we'll go through some more holds. This is an area we need to improve greatly on. We really need to improve on our offensive holding calls. And there's points here to put a flag on the ground for a hold. First of all, we need to have material restriction. Okay. We got to understand there's 6 categories of offensive holding. You need to know what they are, because if you're working a college game and you say offensive holding number 73, then you actually have a drop down menu in Quick Ref, and you got to pick what category it fit into. Was it a grab and restrict, hook and restrict, takedown? Which category did it fit into? And if you can't pick one, then you already know that you probably have a bad call. So we need to make sure we have material restriction. It needs to be at the point of attack if it's not a takedown. Takedowns we'll call more often, even if they're not at the point of attack. And the rationale behind that is with the takedown, it can incite roughness between the two players, and we end up with things getting out of control maybe. So we still won't call a takedown generally if the ball is becoming dead at that time. So if we have a takedown over here and the guy's being tackled over here at that time, you know, we generally won't call that as well. But for the most part, we'll call takedowns. And then, you know, we need it to be a point of attack. And what this play here is going to show is that one, we don't have a near enough restriction for a hold to be called. But two, even if we did, this is not remotely at the point of attack, and therefore we would not want to throw. Now, what do you do then? Well, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll talk to that player and we'll say, hey, listen, 63, if your block was more at the point of attack, I would have had a flag for a hold on you. All right, let them know that, because then hopefully they'll make an adjustment and do a little better job next time. So another thing that I noticed on this play is we're snapping the ball at the 11. We've got the line to gain at the 3. All right. So when that's the case, what we want to think about is, you know, usually line of scrimmage officials, when we have a play coming to our side, especially a quick pass or a run or sweep or whatever, quick pitch, we want to get behind that play 2 to 3, 4 yards and let it get in front of us. But when we get down into the red zone, especially inside the 15, especially around the 10 or inside, we want, you know, that goal line is the most important line now. So that's our money line. So we need to get there. So in this case, with the ball snapped to the 11, we're going to slowly flow to the goal line. This would be both wings. All right. And then it's the one time, like I said here, we want to actually be ahead of the runner. Okay. So as I continue with the play, so right about this point is when the umpire starts to reach for his flag. And this is the player he's calling the hold on. Okay. So first of all, there's not even close to enough restriction here for this to be a hold. And two, look at where this player is. Look at where the runner is. We're on the right hash with the potential hold. We're running around the left hash with the ball about 3-4 yards behind where he is. So no impact, no flag. All right. And then this is a big thing too. Holding calls are a 2-step process. So what I mean by that is you have first step and then a second step. And if both steps apply, then you might put a flag down. So first of all, you see what is a material restriction of the opponent. And again, what we look for is a dip of the shoulder, a twisting of the shoulders. And a lot of times the feet kind of we call the feet getting stuck. You know, they're trying to move, but they can't move the way they want to move. Their feet are dragging behind them almost because they're getting held, you know. So first of all, you have that material restriction, and then you check the status of the ball. That's the second step, and that's really important, because if I see this is big enough for a hold, but I look and as soon as I see that, I can see peripherally usually, you know, that ball runner is way out here or the runner's, you know, 2-3 yards past where the hold occurs. Okay. Then we don't put a flag down. We do not have both steps involved. We don't have the material restriction and the, you know, the foul affecting the play. All right. So it's not at the point of attack, but those are the things we need to consider. So now as I continue, okay, so here's our flag coming out. You can see he's looking right at 63. And now this player that was kind of held or whatever is right here. Still a long ways from this action. Okay. So if you want, maybe hold the flag. So if you think it was enough for a hold, but you look and he's way over here, so we're not at the point of attack, not even close, hold the flag. And then if that guy would cut back, and let's say that this runner would now cut it back and go like this on his path, and then this player who got held back here maybe could have been involved in the play, guess what? Now we have something that's at the point of attack. So now we could, put a flag down again. And it's not it's not necessarily a late flag. Don't think about it that way. I'm trying to get rid of this. Darn it. Can't get rid of my edits. I gotta move this thing. Let's see. That's not helping. Okay, I'm gonna have to move on. All right, so my next point is by now we got that line to gain in between us and the goal line. It's a 3. So we want to be flowing towards the goal line. We kind of want to hesitate at the line to gain. That's kind of our first money line. Did he make the first down or not? And then the goal line's more important. So this is 1st and 10. So, we'd rather have you kind of slide by the line to gain if you think he's going to get there for sure and be waiting at the goal line. But what we don't want is this. Here's our guy right at the goal line. And if he gets held up right now, we're at the 5-yard line. We really have no angle at all to know if he's broken that plane or not. We're just guessing, and we need to be better than that. We can't guess. All right. So get to that goal line, be 6 feet back from it. Okay. So I'll talk about that on another play. Be back at that second restraining line where you don't have to worry about players running into you if they're coming at the pylon or whatever, and you can make a great ruling on that for a touchdown or not. So any questions on this stuff mentioned here? Darn it. I gotta get rid of this thing. No questions? Let's see if I can move this over here. It's probably better if I move it up there. I'm gonna move that up there. Okay. Then I can get rid of my edits that I didn't want on there. All right, next play then. Okay, let's see. I've got one other thing in the way. There we go. Okay, wing mechanics on pass plays. This is a big problem that we have in high school, at high school level, all states, even the collegiate level. It's something that, especially at the NAI D3 level, a little more so, but even at the Division I level, we need to, as wings, as soon as we read pass, if our tackle on our side doesn't immediately drag a guy to the ground for an offensive holding call, we need to forget about the line of scrimmage and we need to watch receivers, because we can't have a back judge who's watching 4 up to 5 guys running pass routes, and we have a back judge who's watching all 5 of them, because we've got a referee and umpire who are supposed to watch the line of scrimmage and for holding and hands to the face and so on. But we also have 2 line of scrimmage officials who are also watching for holding. So we can't have 4 guys watching those 4 or 5 blocks and have only the back judge watching downfield. Now, see my note here? This is 3rd and 33. I mean, every single play you should, part of your pre-snap thought process should be, what might they do on this play? 3rd and 33. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to pass the ball. I mean, maybe it's a draw, but we want to think about pass. So if I run this through, I'm going to stop it right here, and we're going to look at a few things. Remember, I talked about this before. The bill of the cap is what we look for to see where guys are looking. And this official, you can see definitely looking back here. And we know this because this official threw a hold right here. So we'll come back and look at that hold and see that that's not one that is big enough that we want called. But we also see this official. Yeah, they're both moving downfield slowly, but he's looking back as well. Okay. So again, we need to have you guys focusing on receivers in kind of your zone area. So wings, if you don't have immediate takedown hold, you must watch receivers. Trust that your referee and umpire can watch the possibility of up to 5 blockers, blocking on the line of scrimmage. Okay, so if we go back now, the hold is going to be by this left tackle. And if I play it through, I mean, that's just not enough for a hold. Okay, I'll play at regular speed. There's barely any restriction at all. All right. But the official who calls it is this official right here. He's just tossing his flag right now. Okay. So one, we don't want you looking there anymore when we have a pass going on. And two, you don't have, you know, a good, you're a long ways away. You don't have a good angle compared to the referee. I mean, that's the referee's key. He's looking right through to that left tackle. That's who he's looking at. So you got to trust your referee that he can handle that. And then you can be watching downfield, because where we run into problems is when we have, when, you know, they're in a zone here, obviously, with 3rd and 33, right? But if they're in a man-to-man coverage and we've got, you know, this receiver and this guy's all over him, we got this receiver and he's running a, you know, an out route and there's a guy grabbing him, and we could have 4 or 5 receivers who all could have people close enough to them to foul or be fouled. And if we're looking in the backfield with our wings, we've got a back judge, one guy watching up to 5. So it's already difficult when you have 3 officials, possibly up to 3, who are watching up to 5 receivers. So questions on mechanics on pass plays. This is an area that for those of you, the crews that watch film, this is probably the biggest area that you can improve your crew. It is by watching the film and watching when you read pass and watching what your officials are doing, what your wings are doing. And it's really easy to watch, because what we want them to do is they read pass. We want them to literally turn their hips and be walking downfield with their head downfield as they're doing so. And this is not if you have a guy who's running a receiver or a back who's running a swing pass out towards you. You're not going to flow downfield then. This is when we have a drop back pass and the play is developing over, a few seconds. Immediately, you're going to hold that line of scrimmage and kind of watch those receivers in your area to watch what routes they're running. But if we've got 3 or 4 guys going deep, if everybody on your side of the field as a wing is going downfield 10, 15 or more yards, you need to flow with them. We can't just sit at the line of scrimmage and have a ball that's, 25 yards downfield, on a kind of a fade route that's forcing the sideline, and you're 30 yards behind it, and you got to decide whether he has a foot in bounds or not. Okay, we need you to be releasing downfield to help out on that. So questions on this?
Hey, Monty, I posed this in the chat and the guys already answered, but on a play like that, if the quarterback gets close to the line of scrimmage, the umpire's watching that to make sure they don't cross it.
Yeah, good question. So there's 2 ways to do that. One, the umpire can help. Remember, a lot of times that umpire is going to step up to about 3 yards, right? So if that quarterback gets close, he can come up and help. But another thing that you could do, especially with 5-man, is as a referee, you know where that passer is, right? I mean, he's your number one responsibility. So you should be kind of trailing him. Say he's scrambling, off to say your quarterback is here and he's kind of scrambling off this way. As a referee, let him pass you, let him go past you. Don't have to, it used to be you kind of kept your cushion with your angle you had on him. And now what we do is we let him pass us and then we'll trail him from the inside out. So this is not the line of scrimmage, but let's say our line of scrimmage is right here at the 29 and he runs this way and he passes it, somewhere in this area. All you need to do, you're trailing him. All you need to do is go to the yard line that he released the ball. And then you can literally turn and look at where the down box is. And remember, to be a foul, he needs to be completely beyond every single, wait a minute. Nope, that's different in high school. Someone correct me on where it is in high school, if you know.
Monty, in high school, it's got to be, they all have to be, the forward foot has to be behind the line of scrimmage.
The forward most foot has to be behind.
Well, yeah, everything has to be in high school. So if his front foot's on across, then he's too far.
Okay. So there we go. There's our answer where they need to be. So yeah, you go to where you threw it, you turn and look and see where you're at. Umpire can help, but referee really can do that pretty easily just by trailing that play and knowing where he released that ball from. So good question. Anything else on that one? All right, this is a great play. And I really applaud so many of you for sending in plays that were difficult or challenging for your crew, plays that, you know, sometimes it's like, you know, we really kind of screwed this play up for whatever reason. Sometimes it's just because it's just a bitch of a play. Sometimes it's because you made a mechanical mistake or something like that. But, you know, thanks for sending them in, because we have to learn from our own mistakes and everybody's mistakes. And if you guys weren't sending plays in, you know, to Jared or myself and saying, hey, this is one you might want to look at, then we can't put them up here for all of us to get better. That's the entire goal of this that we're doing this year, is to get more consistency from the officials in the state, you know, as individuals and as a crew and as a state, just become better officials. So the rules around the dreaded inadvertent whistle. And this was actually, sent in to me by an official, and he sent me a text and told me about the play. So we actually talked on the phone about it. And the issue was not so much that we had an inadvertent whistle. We never want to have those, but there was a foul on the play that occurred before the inadvertent whistle. And, you know, they weren't sure what to do. And then they talked to several other officials, some officials who had pretty good success, you know, with state tournament runs and so on. And they also weren't sure, 100% sure what to do if you also have a foul. So let's take a look at the play and we'll come back and talk about it. So what we have looks pretty safe, but we have a defensive holding call called on one of these two guys. Let me run it through and then I'll tell you who. Okay, it's going to be on this guy right here by this defender. And first of all, you know, for even defensive holding as well, we want to have a bigger threshold. So for a defensive hold, I mean, I'm a deep wing in college. This is what I look at all the time. And what we consider to be a material restriction on a defensive hold is a huge thing I look for is a dipping of the shoulder. Okay. They're grabbing him, they dip the shoulder. And the second thing is it takes a step away, a visible, noticeable change in that receiver's route. You know, he gets slowed down by the hold. If they just grab them, even if they stretch their jersey, but they run right through it, then that's not big enough. Okay. We need to see material restriction. And this one, there's just not enough. Okay. So you could debate, well, what about pass interference? Because the ball's in the air. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of contact there. I don't think that affected that, you know, that kid's ability to catch that ball really at all. So I don't think we had a foul, but what we have here, here's the problem. Here's why we have an inadvertent whistle. This is our official who throws the flag. You can see him throw the flag here. And what he didn't see is this ball skipped through and this guy intercepted. So ball skips through, this guy intercepts it. You know, it went through, he thought it was incomplete. So after he threw his flag, he blew the whistle. And now you can see this player like, oh, what are you doing? And this guy's doing the same thing because they're like, you know, you're blowing this dead. We got the ball, we're running with it. So you can see, I don't think he's going for a pick six or anything, but still we got some problems. So let's go back and talk about the rules around an inadvertent whistle. So first of all, you need to know how to handle the basic part of it, and then we can deal with the foul part, which the foul part actually is very easy. If you know it, that is. So when you have an inadvertent whistle, the ball's dead immediately. So if we have any team, either team in possession of the ball, when the whistle's blown, then that team has options. Option 1 is replay the down. Option 2 is that team in possession can take the ball at the spot the ball was when the whistle was blown. All right. So if this inadvertent whistle occurred after the interception, then team B can have the ball. If the inadvertent whistle occurred while team A still had the ball in possession like a runner, then team A can decide we want to replay the down, or we want to take the result of the play when it was blown dead with the inadvertent whistle. If the ball is in the air, or if we have a kick that is not necessarily in the air, but we have a kick play going on, so we could have a punt, the ball's rolling around, even though it's not in the air, it's rolling, not in possession of anybody. Basically, we have a ball that's not in player possession, then we need to replay that down. Okay, so if this pass is in the air, we don't have an option other than to replay that down. If the kick is rolling around on the ground, free kick, scrimmage kick, doesn't matter. We don't have an option other than to replay the down. If we have a fumble, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure on this. If we have a fumble, loose ball, inadvertent whistle, team A, well, whoever had the ball at the time of the fumble can take the ball at the spot of the fumble, or they can replay the down. I'm 99% sure on that, but correct me if I'm wrong. So as you're thinking about that, let's talk about the foul. So if we have an inadvertent whistle, ironically, the best thing we can have is a foul on the play before the whistle, because then it wipes out the inadvertent whistle, because they can take the foul and wipe out the inadvertent whistle. So let's say that we do on this play have I don't care if it's defensive hold or DPI, doesn't matter. We have either one of those. All right. And the ball is still doesn't matter if the ball's still in the air, caught, whatever the case may be. We have a foul during this play, then we can enforce that foul. So if they intercept the ball and we have the inadvertent whistle after they intercepted it, okay, it doesn't matter. We can enforce the defensive hold of the DPI, which means, team B didn't get the ball with clean hands, so they're not going to get the ball. So we're going to enforce this defensive hold, 10 yards previous spot, or we're going to enforce this DPI, 15 yards from the previous spot, and it's going to be team A's ball. So ironically, the best thing that can happen if you have an IW is that you have a foul. All right, questions on that particular play? Awesome. Okay. This was a great play sent in by coaching staff. Appreciate it. And they were like, we got called for a blindside block here, and we don't think it was a blindside block. Can you let us know? So not all blindside blocks are illegal. And that's why it's very important as a referee, when you announce a foul for a blindside block, you don't just say blindside block, you say illegal blindside block, because as this will show, not all blindside blocks are illegal. So you want to say personal foul, illegal blindside block, number 15 yards from the end of the run, results in a first down, something like that for your announcement. Okay. This one's going to show we have an interception. All right. And then this player is going to throw the blindside block, but this one is 100% legal. I don't even think he touches the offensive player with anything but his hands. He does a great job from the side, just 2 hands, open hands, pushes this guy to the ground. Okay, so make it a little easier. Go back in slow motion, take a look at it. And you can see the push right there. And this is definitely from the side. Okay, so we talk about blocking the backs, right? And remember, we've talked about two things with the block in the back. One is chase mode. So let's say this guy is coming here. All right, let me switch to an arrow. That. This would be chase mode. This player could block in the back via chase mode. If you're in chase mode, any contact in the back is a foul. Not a touch, but any even somewhat forcible contact is a foul. If you're not in chase mode, which this player definitely is not in chase mode, he's kind of in front of him. He's definitely on the side of him, ends up on the side of him when he blocks him. In order for a block from not chase mode to be a foul for an illegal block in the back, we need all of the forcible contact to be inside the middle of the numbers. Okay, so those numbers, that's a small square of the back, but we need all the forcible contact to be in that area if it's not chase mode. So we take a look at this one. I mean, 100% on the side. Okay, there's no way. I mean, it even turns the guy forward, right? So that's definitely a side block. Okay, but great example here of a blindside block that is legal. And it wasn't horrible. You know, we brought it back, you know, from, you know, where the block is at the whatever yard line that is, and the runner goes 10, 15, about 17 yards further. So yeah, I mean, we don't want to, you know, make a mistake where we cost them 17 yards, or 27 with the foul. But, you know, we are trying to make blindside blocks a point of emphasis, but this is a great example of showing one that is not an illegal blindside block. Questions there? All right. Here we have one that is definitely an illegal blindside block. And we've talked about this. I think every single training tape, I've had at least one, if not more, blindside blocks that were illegal. And some we are getting called, some we're not getting called. We can't do anything. You know, we can't prevent them from making the block. But what we have to do is we have to get these penalized, because we've had kids who are, their season is over. Week 1, we had a kid who season was done and we didn't have a flag on the ground. And we're not going to get them all, but we can really get almost all of these if we're mechanically in the right spot and if we're looking in the right spot. And I would say 90% of our blindside block fouls are ones that should be seen by the back judge. Okay, back judge, you're that guy in the center of the field. You're looking at everything. You are not responsible for the runner for forward progress. You're supposed to be looking for things out in front of him. And we really need you to anytime to be looking for, you know, these guys that are going the wrong way. So if we take a look here, here's my first comment. Are there any other blocks to see other than this guy right here? Okay, the white team is blocking. All right, he's running. There's all these blue guys. Here's our white guys, and here's one other white guy. We really don't have to worry about a blindside block by these guys, right? Well, maybe this guy here on this guy, but guess who's going to get that? That's going to be our umpire, maybe our backside wing, referee who's you know, behind and trailing everything. But we really need to see this guy here. So back judge, we need you to see it. Opposite wing, you know your umpire can take care of that. So backside wing, if you see a guy like this, we'll just run it through regular speed and then I'll come back. Okay, we've got to see this. So right now we need to see this blur of a guy who's running towards his own goal line. He's crouching, he's launching. He actually blocks the guy in the back, kind of because the guy turned. It really doesn't matter. We're not going to call a block in the back if we have a blindside block, right? Because the blindside block's a 15-yard personal foul. Illegal block in the back is 10 yards. So if it could be both blindside and block in the back, we're going to go with a blindside block. Okay, but we need, I mean, we've got to see that. I'm not sure on this if we had a flag or not. I can't see if we have a flag. Back judge, if you've got it, you'd be throwing that flag in. So let's talk about penalty enforcement. So let's say as the back judge, you see this and you got to, be thinking, where did that foul occur? Well, we're like 43-yard line, somewhere right in there. And then we see the runner goes out of bounds at the 47. So let's say as a back judge, you throw your flag and your flag, ends up right here. Okay. One thing we need to know is, okay, I threw my flag. I couldn't get it that far or into the wind or whatever the case may be. Do I need to move my flag or not? So and we need to think about penalty enforcement. Where are we going to force this penalty from? Well, we've got the runner who went out of bounds at the 47. We've got the team and player in possession who fouled behind that basic spot, which is the end of the run. So we're going to enforce it from this 48-yard line where that foul occurred. So let's say your flag ends up, you throw your flag and ends up right here. Okay. What you need to do is before you report this foul to your referee, you need to pick up your flag and you need to get it to the 48-yard line. Now, it doesn't really matter if you put it right here where the block occurred or anywhere between there and the hash. You need to just get it at that yard line. Usually we try to put it kind of where the block occurred so everyone knows, oh yeah, that's what he saw. And we're going to go 10 yards from position 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 in position 5. And we're going to have player went out of bounds. We're going to have a dead clock. But in this case, we need to move our flag. And you want to move your flag before you report to the referee what you've got for a foul. Okay, that's just a mechanical thing that how you handle that. So let's go back and just take a quick look. Who else could see it? So we've got to run, this is our line of scrimmage official who has this runner for progress. And if someone is close enough to that runner to foul him or for the runner to foul the defender, because sometimes we have a face mask by the runners, right? Then that official needs to be watching that action. So right now, this official should be looking at these two guys because he could foul the runner or the runner could foul him. At this point, we now have a runner in space again. The absolute best line of scrimmage officials only watch the runner when the runner can be fouled or be fouled, or can foul or be fouled. Other than that, he's looking in front of the runner. So now that this runner is in open space, we would love our line of scrimmage official to be looking out here and be like, okay, where's my next potential block? And we've got these guys coming here. So as these guys close in on this runner, he can't focus on a block anymore. He's got to watch that action. But right now, what he might see is he might see this guy coming. All right. So he might be able to see that block because that runner's still in space. So I think this line of scrimmage official could see this blindside block. 100% the back judge needs to see this blindside block. I really think, as Mark talked about, backside line of scrimmage officials, you are kind of like the back judge in your kind of cleanup duty. Okay, you don't have forward progress. You're looking for blocks, but really how you can help out is with these safety fouls. So I think we could have 3 different officials who could see this block, and there's nothing wrong with 3 flags or sometimes even 4 flags when we have an illegal blindside block, a targeting, or some other type of safety foul. If we're looking in the right spot, there's a good chance we're going to have more than 1. And it really helps sell the call if we got 3 flags. But we at least need
Bonnie.
1. Yeah.
This is Aaron, the crew chief for this game. We had 2 down, the umpire and the referee. Like awesome. You said, the side guy was kind of watching the progress, and yes, that I agree with you. The back judge probably had the best look, but we did have 2.
That's great. So, Aaron, you're the referee?
Yes, sir.
And you had 1 as well on it?
I did.
Okay, so that's awesome because here's the thing. We know the referee's way back here trailing this play, but if you see a guy who is way up here and he's coming back this way, that's our safety issue. So it doesn't matter that it's not really in your zone to be looking at. If you see someone who's lining someone up for a targeting blindside block, just don't leave that. So that's what they had 2 flags by the referee and the umpire. And, as he stated, the back judge, they feel should have been down on it. And I bet the back judge would be if this play happened again. It's definitely the hardest by this guy to see that, because he is worried about progress and so on. Just really work with your line of scrimmage officials. We talk all the time about not officiating air. So if there's a runner in space, we don't need to be looking at him. Even if you are responsible for his progress, if he drops the ball and fumbles it, I'm pretty sure we're all going to see that peripherally, right? So try to look ahead, try to find a block, and just always knowing, if you're that covering official, that as soon as someone gets close enough where he can foul or be fouled, now it is your responsibility to watch that action again, and somebody else is going to help out with other stuff. So thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. And yeah, good play. I'm really glad to hear there were 2 flags down. That's awesome.
Yeah, and just a little bit further on this, the coach actually was completely irate. He didn't agree with the call at all, which sometimes you can win that or not, but after an interpretation of the rules. But yeah, that was his biggest hang up. He absolutely didn't like that call, oddly enough.
Right. And kind of the funny thing is with the coaches, if it was his player who that happened to, he probably would be, oh yeah, that's a foul.
For sure.
But, and they're sticking up for guys, and we kind of understand that as officials, that they're not always going to see it the same way. But I really do think, and I know we have coaches who are watching these, that I really think that coaches are starting to understand it more. We still have officials, we still have coaches, we still have players who are still under the mindset of, hey, this is football and it's a violent contact sport. And that is true. It is football and it is a violent contact sport, but we're trying to eliminate the safety fouls in which players can be, injured, or, we could have career-ending injuries for kids who's in high school. I mean, we could have kids who, never play football again. And, there's a whole CTE thing with players who continue to play football. And, we don't want the moms and the dads to not be letting their kids play. We don't want kids being scared of playing because of these blow-up hits. So I think they're starting to get it. More coaches are starting to understand it, but they're still going to argue sometimes. I mean, they're coaches. That's what they're going to do, and that's understandable. So thank you. Any other questions on that one? Okay, this play here. So the score is 20-12, and there's 2 minutes and 32 seconds left in the 4th quarter. How I know that is, it's not showing up, but they have the score, thing down here. So knowing that, we should have 4 in the box. So let's talk about what we mean by 4 in the box. So we know that we've got our back judge here. We know we've got our umpire here. And if we are going to have what we think is the obvious onside kick, we're going to put 4 officials in the box. So we're going to have our H, who's going to come up here. And this is something people don't always understand. Yeah, so my H is going to come up here and he's going to go in the box. Is he going to take the 50 and the umpire is going to bump down, or what? And no, the umpire is going to stay here. Why? Because we want this umpire, who is always looking at ours restraining line, to be looking at the same thing he always does. So we're going to leave him there, and our H is going to come and he's going to jump past the umpire and he's going to be sitting on K's restraining line. So then we've got my bad, that's our L, sorry. Our H is going to come up here and he is going to be at the 50 right across from the umpire. So when we say 4 in the box, we've got 1, 2, we've got 3, and our 4th official is going to be at the 40-yard line right here. All right. So if we, if we don't have 4 in the box, we officiate the best we can. If it's obvious if we think it's an obvious onside kick, put 4 in the box. And generally the rule is, when in doubt, move them up, move you guys up. It's going to be easier to officiate. If they go with the deep kick, that's the one time it's going to be a little different. If we have 4 in the box and they go with the deep kick, our umpire is going to have to hustle his butt down here. Our headline judge is going to have to hustle his butt down here and trying to get as far back as they can, even behind the players if they can, and then officiate that play like we do a normal play from behind, staying off the field in that case. Obviously, you know, on a regular deep kick, we know we are wanting our umpire to diagonal in to about the hash, about 10 yards downfield. We want our back judge to be diagonaling in about 10 yards downfield on a regular scrimmage kick. Anytime we have a short kick, you know, that even goes 20, 30 yards, you know, then we can stay, you know, close to those sidelines or stay on those sidelines. Okay, so now we need to know what all to look for. First of all, I bet 90% of the time we're going to have some K player who is going to break this this pane of glass, imaginary pane of glass, with any part of his body, knowing they're kicking an onside kick. And remember, that is a hard line anytime we have a short kick. And it doesn't have to be an onside. It could be a short kick of 20, 25 yards. We're going to make it a hard line. So first thing we're looking for is encroachment. Remember, in high school football, that's a dead ball foul. And we want you to hammer on those whistles with that. So we really, ideally, we don't want any contact between team K and team R if we have encroachment on the kicking team. We want to hammer on the whistles hard over and over and over. So hopefully we don't have any contact of these guys. They do a great job here of not encroaching. We do have a hard line here. This is kind of a weird one. On an onside kick, this is a hard line for team R. It's the only time really we're going to call them for encroachment if they break that plane before that ball's kicked. Now, we're probably not going to nitpick this quite as much. For example, if this kid's foot is, you know, touching the line, a couple inches over the line, but he doesn't move until the ball's kicked, we're not going to nitpick that as much. But if we have a player of team R who is, you know, he knows it's an onside kick and his responsibility, it's probably going to be this guy. His responsibility is to go get that ball and they cross that line before it's kicked. That's encroachment on team B. We need to shut that down as well. All right. In this case, I'll run it through and then we'll come back. I mean, this is like kick to perfection. So let's go back and take a look. No one encroached. No K player blocks early. So we also got to know those rules. K cannot block early. K cannot touch the ball early. And in this case, we have K's ball at the spot of the recovery. So so in college, I'm a side judge. So I'm on R's, as a side judge, I'm on R's restraining line. Okay. And I out loud, I say a lot of things out loud on the field. It's kind of weird, but out loud every single time, I will say A can't touch, A can't block. I'm sorry, not A. Well, it's A. White can't block, white can't touch. So what I'm saying is the team here in white cannot block before the ball goes 10 yards, and they cannot touch the ball before it goes 10 yards. That's what I think about every single time when I'm in this umpire's position. All right. So first of all, other things you have to worry about in high school. If we have the one, he does kick this ball down into the ground. There was bounce 1 already. If this ball, remember, bounces up and our guideline, because there's not really a hard rule in there, our guideline is that that ball on one bounce goes above the player's head. So 6 feet, right? If it goes 6 feet in the air, it's dead. Kind of weird rule, but that's high school rule. It's dead, and they're going to have to re-kick it after a 5-yard penalty. All right. This ball does not go too far in the air. So far we're good. One bounce. Here's our second bounce right there. So now, as long as this ball gets to 10 yards before a player of team, you guys talk about K and R, before a K player touches it, all's good. So if we take a look, he's reaching for it. I don't think he touches it until probably there, and he's probably good, you know, and it is where he touches it. So let's go back and let's say this guy would reach out and he would touch the ball when it's right here, 49 and a half, then that would be an illegal touching, right? No, first touching in high school, first touching. All right, so then we have that to consider. But in this case, he ends up not touching the ball. It doesn't matter where he possesses it, where he touches it. He doesn't touch it until that's definitely at 10. All right, and he possesses it probably at the 11. Well, 11 yards past at the positive 49. And so I did go back and look to see, you know, how this crew handled this, and they were spot on. You know, if we continue here, we got the umpire coming in, killing the play, and look at him. He's going to the spot right here, and the next snap was by Team K at the 49-yard line, position 1. So handled it perfectly. Great judgment by all the officials on that one. You really can't execute it any better than that. Let's go back and talk about the first touching aspect. So let's say that this guy touched this ball. Also, on every single kick, like I said, I'm side judge. I'm where the umpire is. I will have my hand on my beanbag. I don't have it in my hand. I have my hand on it if I'm anticipating a deep kick. I always think about a short kick, but if I'm thinking they're going to kick it deep, I have my hand on it. If we put 6 in the box. So, but anyway, if we have 4 in the box, 6 in the box, whatever, and I'm on this line, if it's an onside kick that I think is going to happen, obvious one, I'm going to have my beanbag actually in my hand. Think about it. When you have a beanbag in a hand, what hand do you want it in? Well, I want it in my non-dominant hand, because if I have to throw my flag, I want to throw that with my dominant hand. So I'm right-handed. So I'm going to put my beanbag in my left hand. And so I can toss that to a spot if I have to for first touching. I want to be able to reach for my flag and throw it with my right, because if I throw it with my left, it's gonna probably be a pretty crappy toss. So that's what I do. Don't have to do that, but that's what I do on those. So let's say he first touches the ball here at the 49, and then let's say he recovers it at the 41 or the 51 here. And it's not that we talk about 51, because then it's obvious what 49 we're talking about. But anyway, then we are going to we can give this ball to Team B at the first touching spot. All right, because they're not in legal possession, because they illegally touched it, which in high school is called first touching, but they touched the ball when they couldn't legally touch it yet, which is first touching. And so we can give the ball to Team B on the 49 going that way, and we're going to be on the snap. Okay, so that's the first touching aspect that we could have that we need to think about. Blocking, let's go back and talk real second about this. So on these onside kicks where it's kind of a dribbler like this, not a pop-up or a pooch, you know, it's kind of dribbling down the field. The tendency is for Team K in your book, when Team K to get in front of the ball and block. So what happens sometimes they'll do the onside kick where from the middle of the field, and they'll dribble it right straight ahead. And actually what they do is the ball's going slow, and we'll have players who will go out and they'll get in front and they'll throw a block. So the ball's dribbling back here. So here's my ball, and it's like squiggling down the field, and the ball's here and going slow, but it's going to get there. Okay, but this guy's running full speed. He gets advanced and he blocks this guy, and the ball's here. That's our foul for illegally blocking. before you can legally touch the ball. So now we have a foul for that illegal block. All right. So let's continue with this play. So we have that illegal block, but the ball continues to go past 10 yards and the ball gets recovered by K at 11 yards. So is Team K in legal possession? Yes, they are, correct? The balls went 10 yards. However, they fouled. So our enforcement option, we only have one in this case. We have to re-kick because Team K is in legal possession. So if Team R doesn't want Team K to have the ball, they need to enforce it. And since Team K is in legal possession, they have to enforce it from the previous spot. However, let's say Team R recovers the ball down here. Now we have the stipulation, the rule that says that Team K fouls other than KCI can be added on to the dead ball spot if Team R is in legal possession at the end of the down. So if Team R was in possession, then they could take this penalty for the blocking before they touch it, and they can enforce that and they can take the ball. They can kind of tack it on, as we say. So a lot of really good stuff on that play. Questions, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on onside kicks. Any questions? Things you want me to cover or didn't talk about? Yes.
Not a question, but just want to remind everybody that they have to have 4 guys on each side of the kicker, at least 4. That's come up a few times in my coaches' meetings this year that some crews are missing that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mark. And when we have to think about that the most is when it's an obvious onside kick. We want to consider it always. And this is an interesting one. So the primary official on this is our referee, who's way back here on the goal line. But think about it. Whoops, that's not the line I wanted. If you think about it, the referee is the one who can easily see how many guys we have on both sides of the kicker. Everybody kind of is secondary. So if the referee misses it, somebody's got to get it. But usually that's only an issue on when they do an onside kick, but you never know. And a preventative thing. So let's say that the wind's blown the ball off the tee 2 times. So they've got a guy who needs to hold the ball. We've got a right-footed kicker. So this right-footed kicker is going to be coming to this ball from this side. And let's say that the guy who's supposed to hold it is this dude over here. They always have some guy that's assigned to hold the ball, right? So let's say this guy is the one who's supposed to come over here and hold the ball for the kicker. Now he's on the wrong side, and now they only have 3 guys. This is one we can prevent, okay? You see that this guy's going over here to hold the ball. You know it's a right-footed kicker. You know they're only going to have 3 on the side. You know, just get that coach. Just don't blow it ready for play. Just get that coach and say, hey, coach, you need to have 4 guys on that side of the kicker. So someone else needs to either hold the ball or you need to move a guy over. Okay. That there's nothing wrong. That's preventive officiating. That, you know, that's not coaching. That's a good job of preventive officiating. So good point, Mark. Thank you. Any other questions?
Question, actually.
Yeah.
Could you maybe just kind of cover mechanics of stopping the clock with something like this?
Yeah. Great point. So we got to know the rule of when the clock starts, and the clock starts anytime the ball is legally touched in the field of play. So why do I say that word so emphatically? Because if this player touches this ball, he's touching it illegally. The clock won't start yet. Not that it won't start, but it's not going to start when he touches it. Okay. Oh, darn it. Too many of those. Wrong way. When he touches it now, he is in legal. He legally can touch it. Therefore, the clock will start. So a good guideline, and a lot of times with these onside kick, time is paramount, right? I mean, it's important. So, you know, there might be 30 seconds left on the clock, and this player is not down. No, back up. Here's a question I want somebody to chip in and answer really quickly. When this K player possesses the ball, let's say he's upright, can he run for a touchdown?
No.
Oh,
No.
I think we know that one.
recovery
Good.
only.
It's dead. So here's the weird thing. When he possesses this ball, it's dead. So if K legally possesses the ball on a kick play, no time should come off the clock. Okay. Unless, I shouldn't say never. If he would touch it here, but bobble it and not really possess it until maybe here, then it's going to be dead at this point. Then we're going to take a second off. But if this dude, touches it, possesses it all at the same motion, all at the same time, we're not going to take any time off the clock. Other times when time will not come off the clock is if the receiving team fields the ball. If they fair catch it, no time comes off the clock. If they catch it while they're grounded on the knee, laying down, whatever, no time comes off the clock. If they catch it and go down to a knee immediately, by rule, 1 second has to come off the clock. So that's kind of your clock possibilities. I think I covered them all. Does that answer your question? And any other questions as a result of that?
Yeah, good explanation. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.
Monty, you might have already covered this, but if Team K is the first to touch at the 9-yard mark, will we have a flag or is it just a bag and Team R gets the ball at that spot?
Okay, so that's a great question, Marcus. So what we got to think about is, is it a foul? And the answer to that is no. First touching is a violation, and we do not flag violations. We bag violations. So let's say it's a punt play and Team K first touches the ball. We want to bag that spot because that's a spot of first touching. And then the reason why our back judges need 2 bean bags is because if Team R then picks that ball up, now that's the end of our kick. We need to have a bag at that spot as well, because we got our first touching spot. We've got our end of the kick spot, which we need for PSK. And that's why we need 2 bean bags if you're a back judge. So answer to your question is, we will bag that first touching just like we would if it's a punt. And we would not have a flag. But what that violation does is it gives Team R the privilege of taking the ball at the spot of first touching, unless they foul during the play, and that gets more complicated. But then that spot of first touching can go away if we can enforce a foul. So, answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? That's
Monty, this is Aaron real quick.
Yeah.
We get back-to-back coverage, I guess, tonight. It never was explained to be in the 4 in the box, which I really like. We always move them up, but I really like that. It makes total sense. I think you went over everything well. As far as the referee, Mark already beat me because I'm checking 4 on each side of the kicker. As far as depth, I know I go up about where the last person is, receiver. Does that matter as far as depth? Is that about right? I mean, at that point, I can get back to the end zone, but as far as your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, probably 5 yards behind that deepest guy. That being said, if he's at the 30, you probably want to be at the 20, because if they would kick it deep, we've got to be able to see if that ball breaks the goal line.
Sure.
I don't think anyone's going to beat you back there to recover it or whatever. But
right.
Yeah, no, you can definitely come forward from that goal line if you're the referee, and just be up 5 yards behind that guy who's farthest back. Okay. All right. So now we are getting more to our offensive holding, another play here. So, can't see my comment there. I know it's talking about increasing the threshold for what the foul is for offensive holding. Oh, I can see it on my other screen. Mechanically, if we're in a better position, we're going to be able to see that block better and make a better judgment. So let's take a look at this one. Okay, so my first comment here is right now, get back to the 50. Let's see. Oh, okay. Maybe not quite then, but my point's going to be this comment is related to this official. So as soon as you see this ball get swung out to this guy, just straight back, stay out the field, but come back 3, 4, 5 yards, sometimes even 6 yards. Try to get behind the play. Okay. So, then you're looking from this angle, and I can't extend this backwards, but if you're back here, you're looking at this block from this angle. So, comment here is, this would be a better look for you to see the block. And to have an offensive hold, we need to see material restriction, which is restricting the shoulders with a twist, shoulder dip, feet getting stuck. And also, if the blocker blocks what's we call presented to him and just continues to drive with that block, we don't have a foul. Okay. So sometimes in this case, he's presented the front, he blocks the front. But another one that we might get to is he gets presented the side of the blocker. So he blocks him at the side. It's not a foul for a block in the back. And if the guy just continues to block him from the side and even ends up driving him into the ground, that's not a takedown hold. That's a pancake, right? Okay, that's a legal block. He just continued driving the guy and he ended up taking him to the ground, but he didn't grab him and throw him to the ground. He just rode him to the ground, which is not a foul. So in this case, this guy just does a great job of sealing him. Okay. And I really appreciate this crew. Again, this is a crew that sent this in, and we're like, we called this, we're watching our film, and we didn't like it. And they learned from it, and they're going to do a better job next time. So if you watch, I'll go in slow motion here. Now, he just pivots with the guy. This defender does nothing to get off this block. I tell this to guys, especially in high school, if they're complaining about a hold, and I'm like, dude, if you want me to call a hold, you need to try to get off the block so I can see that he's restricting you. If they're just, we talk about it, they're just dancing. If 2 guys dancing, that's not a foul. So in this one, the guy's not doing anything. He just seals him off. That's a seal block. So this would be a good block. And let's look at this action here. Remember, I talked about when I'm watching film, I always watch regular speed or even ×2, and then I'll go back, and anytime I see a guy on the ground, I want to see like how he got there. So I'd want to see what happened here with this block. So this block, that's a side block. Okay, remember, that's not chase mode. He's not coming here. So in order for this to be a foul, the forcible contact would have to be in the middle of the numbers. If he has a hand on the side and a hand in the back, it is a side block, not a block in the back. So that's a good block there. If we're back here, now this guy's in space. The short wing should be, sorry, I'm saying short wing. Our line judge should be looking at this block right now because he's in space. Remember, the great short wings don't officiate air. So we don't need to watch this guy. He's free of foul. Our back judge, I would say it's going to be watching, back judge watching front side, probably this block. Our umpires probably got this block. Our referees probably looking, probably this block. This block's over now. And we talk about going from one block to another, progressing through your blockers. So our referee, his first block until the runner gets even or past him is this block. And then our referee's next transition would be to this block. So that's how we kind of transition through a play and watching blocks. I like the patience of our line of scrimmage official in here. You know, he doesn't get as far behind it as I like. Talked about that, but he's not in a hurry. He's plenty close. In fact, could be a step or two behind, which he would be. He'd probably be about here at the 47 trail on this play. We don't want to get too close to it. There's no need to get too close to it. We get too close to it, we can't see well. And also we can end up where a guy rolls into us. And we had an official who got his leg broken last week, I think, when he was even with the play, and players ended up coming out of bounds and rolled up on him, and he's done. So we don't want to see that. Questions on that particular play? All right. This might be, no, we got a couple left. Okay, we're probably not going to get to our extra plays, but unless you want to keep going, we'll see. All right. Next play, goal line mechanics to review. So I talked about this a little bit before, so we can go through this kind of quickly. But if we're snapped at the 10, both wings should flow to the goal line. If the line to gain is between you and the goal line, kind of hesitate at that line to gain, but then we want you to get to that goal line before the runner. From the 5 and in, both wings are immediately going to quickly release to the goal line. We want you to be waiting there for that guy, for that runner. And so you got the white, and the white goes 2 yards deep, right? And then 2 yards further back is going to be what's called the back restraining line. A lot of times on a college field, especially, it's going to be a dotted line. That's where we would want you. So as you come back at an angle here. You're not the track, that's deceptive, but you want to be about 3-4 yards back, and then you're looking straight across the goal line. All right, so we do a good job on this play of immediately going to the goal line. Oh, come on. Okay, so both snaps or both wings get to the goal line. Oh no, this is a different play. So we don't go immediately. We don't see what this other guy's doing, but he's crossing and we're still not there. All right, I know on other weeks I've shown video where immediately at the snap they've been going to that goal line extended. That's where we want to be on a play like that. So any other questions on that one? Let's really quick talk about reverse goal line. So let's say that reverse goal line mechanics mean we're going the other way. So let's say the purple team is snapping the ball from the 3 and they're going out, so they're going this way. That's when we have what's called reverse goal line mechanics. And when I'm working, especially a high school game, I talk on the 020 and say, like, if I was a referee in this game right now, anytime we get to the 10, I'm going to just get on the 020 and I'm going to say, hey, get to that goal line on the snap. In this case, I'd say get to the goal line immediately on the snap. If we're at the 10, I'd say on the snap, start flowing towards the goal line, just as a reminder, to the wings. And, the wings can do that themselves as well, but somebody should, because sometimes we get in a zone or whatever, zone out, and we forget about those things. Okay. But if we're in reverse goal line mechanics, if we're snapping the ball from the 3 going out, both the H and the L will immediately go back to the goal line, reverse mechanics, to see that we have a safety, if we have a safety or not. Okay. If we are snapping the ball from the 5 or the 4, then the H goes back and the L holds the line of scrimmage. If we're snapping the ball from the 10, the H will initially take a couple steps back, so between the 5 and the 10, just to be in position to get there if he needs to. Also, on reverse goal line, for snapping the ball between the 5 and the 10, referee, you might flatten out a little bit and maybe be a little shallower. Instead of being 14 yards or so, you might flatten out to 12 and flatten a little wider. So then you could come up to that goal line and help if that quarterback ends up, getting hit or something like that. So just some things with mechanics of goal line, reverse goal line. Questions on that? Okay. Oh, this is probably our last play. Yep. This will, darn it. Hold on, let me get there. This will be our last play. We can maybe do this again another time if we want for or maybe this next week, Jared. Maybe we should put some of these extra offensive holding ones on the train tape. I've got 5 other ones that we could talk about to get a little better on offensive holds. But okay, so let's 3 things we can talk about. One, let's talk about this first. Let's talk about blocking what is presented to you, and when a guy spins out of a block, because they'll try to spin out of a block, try to get out of the block. And sometimes they'll throw their hands up in the air like, oh, I'm getting held. Well, not necessarily. So let's take a look at this one first. So I'll go slow motion. This is what I mean about blocking what's presented to him. The side of this defender is what's presented to this guy. That's what he blocks. So he's not grabbing him. And it looks like, well, it looks like his shoulders. Yeah, that's because he's pushing him. He's pushing him from the side. But there's nothing wrong with that block. That's not a hold. And then let's talk about spinning out of it. So this guy tries to spin out of the block. Nothing wrong with him trying to spin out of the block. But so many times when we see a guy spin out of a block, we think he was held. And that's not necessarily the case. We need to see if that's the case, because sometimes he's being held. But just because he spins out does not mean he's being held. Probably the biggest thing I can say to you is on holding calls, if you don't see the entire block, you really got to be careful in throwing. Just because you see him go down to the ground, you didn't see how he got down to the ground. Did he just get pancaked from the side or what? Just get, ran over with a pancake block? Because that's not a foul. So this one here, that's totally legal. Spins out of it, lets him go. He doesn't restrict him. He just pushes him away. All right, so that's all good on that block. And if you have a question on that block, chip in. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to double team block. Okay, you can ask if you need to. Double team block, basically, if the philosophy is, if they're going to commit 2 guys to blocking one, you can pretty much hold the shit out of them. Oh, sorry. You can hold them really bad. You can't take them to the ground still. And the only way you'll have a hold if they don't take him to the ground is if he breaks through the double team and then he gets like grabbed and restricted from behind almost. Okay. So if you think about this, we've got 3 blocks here that our referee and umpire are looking at. And here's what I'm telling you as an umpire. If you see a double team and you've also got this block, don't worry about the double team, because the only way you're going to throw a hold on that is if they drag him down to the ground. So since you're going to stay off of that, and you can see that peripherally, then you're going to be on this block. And then you're going to be the one seeing that block. Our referee is definitely looking at this block, front side, out in front. That's our referee's block. Also, we don't need anyone watching this guy get the handoff. We're going to see it if he drops it, right? So our line of scrimmage official, a great line of scrimmage official, who's right here, is going to be watching this block. And then his next block to transition to would be the potential block on this guy. All right. So riding a player to the ground, let's watch this block right here. Okay. Because that's not a foul. All right. Well, let's go in slow motion. Now, here's the thing. Well, he was grabbing him. You know what? Every single level of football, they teach them. You grab them in the breastplate of the shoulder pads. All right. You grab them. They always grab them. It doesn't matter if they grab them. Do they restrict them? And when do they let go is really the key. So in this case, if I go back a little bit, I mean, he's grabbing. Okay. Right there looks like, I don't know, maybe is he restricting him? Well, that's my point. If you're like, maybe he's restricting him, well, we don't want to flag maybes. All right. So don't flag at this point. Okay. Now, if you were thinking, oh, I think he was restricting him, and then all of a sudden he bumps into this guy, guess what? You're off now too. We don't have a foul now. Now he just manhandles this guy. All right. And he's not grabbing him. All right. He's just driving him, pancakes him. That's not a foul. There's nothing that says a pancake block is a foul. You need a restriction. All right. He's basically just manhandling that guy. You see those blocks, not all the time, but you'll see them. Don't put a flag down because a kid just made such a great block. He just ran over the guy. Okay. So we really need to get better at holding fouls. We need to be looking in the right spots. Okay. We need to increase our threshold. We need to know what it makes for a foul. And when we think we have a foul, we don't. When we know we have enough restriction for an offensive hold, we look at the second part, which is it at the point of attack? Because let's say that this guy right here, holds. Let's say this block is a hold right there. And this runner comes right up here. All right. If that's not a takedown, that's not a foul. That's a talk to. All right. You want to get better as a crew. You want to get, have coaches. Coaches don't want 30 flags either. They want flags that impact the game to be called unless there's too many, unless there's a safety foul. If there's a safety foul, they want them called. If they're not a safety foul, they want it to have an impact on the game. They really want you to be consistent. So think about it. Does a coach want you to be consistent and call big fouls unless they're safety fouls? Or would they want you to be consistent and call every ticky-tack foul? I think we all know the answer to that question. So that's how I think we can do better on holding. All right. I'm going to stop that and stop my share. And let's just see if we have questions. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up here when we're done with questions.
Monty, quick question on the lineman who pancakes somebody. To what extent can they lay on them, and you just keep talking to the same guy if it happens repeatedly? It's not a point of a contact. The ball's, maybe downfield. We had that the other night. And at what point do you flag that?
Right. You're going to be really slow to flag that. If you flag that, when they get out of the area, you should close down on that. That's a potential for a problem, right? So you want to close down on that. And as official, just like kind of after a pass has been made as a referee, you'll say balls away. You can say, guys, we're done here. Plays downfield. And at that point, he should be rolling off the guy. If he continues to lay on him, but doesn't I don't know how you can kind of restrict him to the ground, or if he isn't doing anything kind of cheap, tell him again. And then I'd have no problem telling the guy, hey, next time, if you hear me say, the ball's gone or whatever, plays away, we're done here, then you need to roll off of him. And if he doesn't the next time, then you can flag him. And, that's going to be a personal foul, but you don't want to just bang that out the first time. But that's a really good question. It's not technically holding. If you flag it, it's probably because it's a personal foul, not a hold anymore. Good question, Tim. Other questions for Jared or myself? So next week we'll focus on some holds. Still trying to get blindside blocks. Hopefully we're getting more of those that we're getting flagged. That's all we can do is flag them. So the biggest things I want to get out of these this year is improvement in mechanics, improvement in threshold of what's a foul, and those are really the two biggest things. I mean, mechanics are just so big. Mechanics put us where our location on the field is in the right spot, and we're looking in the right spot. And if we do those two things properly, then at least we have a better opportunity to make our judgment. And then hopefully with continued training and that we can improve our judgment. And if your crew is not getting your film, from Jared or Louie and going through it and evaluating your games, I mean, you're really doing a disservice to the game and to your crew. So a lot of crews are doing it, and I'm hoping that more and more crews do it. Some of the plays that I get are already kind of marked up by the crew. And when I get them, and I've had some of those on and said, these were the comments by the crew and so on. So, that's what you should be doing, sharing these within a crew and saying, hey, God, this block here, this might be a block in the back, but who saw it? Did anyone see it? And then, as a crew, you're talking about it. I mean, we do this all the time. Not only in my games, I worked a couple of high school games early on in the year, and both of them, we went through the game and picked out 10 to 20 plays that we wanted to kind of talk about, and that's how you get better. But mechanics is absolutely huge. Our wings have got to do a better job of releasing the line of scrimmage to our referee and umpire and watching receivers. Otherwise, we just miss a lot of things downfield. So, and we got to get the safety fouls. Got to get better at that. So, I will just continue to stay on. But Jared, just let it run. And if guys get off and a couple guys want to stay on to ask a question with not everybody on, that's fine. And we'll wrap it up here in a little bit. But thanks everybody, appreciate it, and keep sending in plays so we can keep having great plays to look at and discuss.